Well, last night, very exciting, but Anthropic launched their new frontier model, Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And for many of us, me included, that are using Claude day to day as their preferred go-to model, it is something we've been waiting for and we're excited to play around. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 of the main updates that have come and how you can start to use these in your work. So just as a reminder, the previous frontier model from Anthropic was Claude 3.5. And so by naming it 3.7, what we're really saying here is that this isn't some massive leap forward in terms of a completely different way of doing things, but it is a marked incremental improvement from the 3.5 they had before. And the main difference that has been introduced is the ability to have some reasoning or chain of thought. That means that instead of us just getting the immediate first answer, Claude now has the ability to take some time and to think through. So for every plan, including the free plan, you're now going to see 3.7 Sonnet as your default option. And when you come in here, you're going to see 3.7 Sonnet. And then if you are then on the Pro plan and above, you're going to see some options for some thinking as well. So normal and extended, which is best for math and coding challenges. So what does that mean in terms of extended thinking? Well, let me just go to this example that I was playing around with last night. My kids love playing backgammon, and I enjoy watching them play backgammon, and I enjoy losing to them as well. And so I thought it'd be much better if there was a bit more strategy involved rather than just the roll of the dice and seeing who is going to roll the best numbers. So my prompt to Sonnet 3.7 last night was, my kids love playing backgammon. I'd like to make it more strategy-based and less reliant on pure chance. Please design a new version of backgammon that will make them use their brains. I want to use this as a web application on a screen rather than a physical board. I'd like you to write the code for the game so it can be run in my browser. And so this is where the thinking comes in. I had selected the extended thinking, and here we get, the user has asked me to design a strategic variant of the backgammon game that is less reliant on chance, more focused on strategy. From the user preferences, and so it's pulled in a lot of my background from what it knows about me. Given their background, that's me as a non-coder who's built a Next.js application, it'd be appropriate to explain some of the code in writing. For this task, I need to design a new variant of backgammon. I need to create a web application. I need to write the code. I need to make it playable. Let me plan this variant. And so you can see here how Claude is thinking through this problem. And that took 10 seconds. So not a huge amount of time, but it is an extended amount of time compared to what it would have taken before. Having done that, we got our first version of the game here. And you can see that was from a single prompt. I've got here a strategic backgammon game. I'm going to actually pick some cards instead of rolling a dice. And then here are the pieces. Now, I played around. This is great. But after player 1 is gone, I still see player 1's cards. Can we assure we switch to player 2's turn? I then had another version. When I selected a double, I was only able to move 1 piece, then created another version, a bit more thinking time here. And then could we add a colored piece or icon next to the player's name so that we know who it is? And so this was the final version that I got to after just 4 conversations. So player 1's turn, player 1 is white, select a card, then a piece to move. So I'm going to say double 3, move 2 pieces, 3 spaces. So I'm going to move this space, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to move this one, 1, 2, 3. Great. Now it's player 2's go. Double 2. I'm going to move this one, 2. I'm going to move this one, 2. I'm not allowed to. That's blocked. So I'll change that. I'll change that rule. But here you can see how Claude has built me a workable game that I can start tweaking and then share. So I'll add the link to that so that you can see the prompts that I had and then take that design on further. So that's the first thing, 3.7. It's about a bit more of that extended thinking time. But next up, we're going to talk a little bit about coding. And for anyone that is writing code and developing, this is where you are using Sonnet all the time, despite all of the advances from OpenAI, what we might have heard from Deepseek or Grok. It is Sonnet that developers are using either directly or through Cursor or their other development tools, because it just seems to get development. And Anthropic have really understood what their opportunity is here, and they've doubled down on that. So the first thing that you've got now is a beta for a GitHub integration. So you can, either in a project, as I am in here, I can add content and I can add GitHub. And here I can find repositories that I've got access to, and I can add individual files. Or within an individual chat, I can do the same thing and I can access individual files. So with my project here, what I'd been doing up until this point was to have to either copy in files or to copy in my schema or to copy in my package.json or to copy in my file structure to try and give my Claude project as much context as possible. Whereas now I can actually hook Claude directly up to the GitHub repository. I can choose which files I want to sync up with, because for a very large code repository, this is going to use up the context window. And then as I push new commits up to my repository, I can then refresh that and resync it. So really looking forward to playing with that if you are a developer. The next thing that the Anthropic team have launched is a thing called Claude Code. And if providing the GitHub integration was about pulling your project into Claude, this is the alternative. This is taking Claude into your project. And so within your development environment, so I'm going to show you Cursor in a minute, you're going to run the install code to install Claude Code. And then you're going to run Claude in order to launch it. So let me just switch over to my example project here, where I'm building an AI maturity assessment. So exactly what I've done, I've run that installation. If you have not got a console or a developer API account, you would need to set that up to start with, so that you've got some billing aligned to it. But when you then install Claude Code, it is going to ask you to log in to your console. Having done that, one of the first things you're going to do is run this init code, and it is going to go and analyze your code base, as we did here. I'm analyzing your code base to create a claude.md file with the essential commands and code so that Claude can act on your behalf. And so Claude has done that. Yeah, happy days, great. And I've now created a claude.md file with essential development commands. So if I go to that file that Claude has created, here is my AI maturity assessment tool guidelines. It's pulled in my scripts that are going to be able to allow Claude to run various things on my behalf. It has found my cursor rules files up at the top here, which frameworks, which components, how it should be using things, and then any stylings that it has found. And then down here, it should reference the doc folders for PRD, maturity model, and assessment questions, which are all up here. So it's provided its instructions. And so now I can ask Claude, can you give me a summary of what this project does? And here's where you've got Claude from within your terminal, within your project, and it's reading the files and getting itself an understanding of what is going on in this project. Now, I am already using Claude 3.7 Sonnet in Cursor in my composer window over here. So I shall be having a think through, when would you use one, like the composer, which is part of my Cursor billing and subscription, versus using Claude within the terminal where I've got additional bills. But here you can say this project is an AI maturity assessment. It's going to help people do these things, assess their AI maturity, compare their results against benchmarks, receive tailored recommendations, and generate downloadable PDF reports, and so on and so on. So that is Claude Code. It is in a limited release preview at the moment, and I'll report back on that. Now, I talked a couple of times about billing there, and this is something that I'll be keeping a close eye on. So within the Claude Code instructions and guides, they talk about, down the bottom here, license and data usage. Track your costs. Here we go. Managing costs effectively. Claude Code consumes tokens for each interaction. Typical usage costs can range from $5 to $10 per developer per day, but could exceed $100 per hour during intensive use. So this is something to be aware of, because this is coming outside of your cursor or any other transactions that you're using. So we can use /cost to see the current usage session. So if I go here, /cost, so 32 cents there, but all I've done is ask it to explain what's going on in the project. And if I go back here to my console, just in me doing a little bit of testing last night and today, we've used this amount of tokens. And if I go here, we've used $1.15, just me asking a couple of questions. So I'll definitely be having a think through here about why would I be using Claude Code versus using Cursor. So there we go. Lots of great updates for anyone that is using Claude Sonnet from Anthropic. Go and test it out. And especially if you're a developer, then this is lots of new toys to go and play with.